The after-death experiments. In late Victorian Chicago, Cottage Grove Avenue ran through one of the most fashionable districts in the city. Among the local businesses serving the posh residents of the area was the funeral parlor run by the Boydston brothers, two of the most respected morticians on the South Side. Funeral homes had enjoyed a booming business since the Civil War, when families looked for a way to preserve their dead sons long enough to be shipped home and waked before burial. For grieving military families whose hopes for reunion were so quickly and heartbreakingly lost, a final view of an intact loved one was a small but necessary comfort. Later, in 1865, when Chicagoans and other mourners along the route of President Lincoln's famed funeral train paid their respects to the assassinated leader, the body had been touched up many times along the route as the embalming lost its hold, but it was enough to convince millions that preservation after death was indeed desirable. The Boydston brothers enjoyed their popularity with the Victorians in large part because of their cutting-edge practices. Along with providing the very latest in caskets and burial arrangements, the Boydstons also conducted their own experiments in embalming right in the basement of their Cottage Avenue funeral chapel. In December of 1898, a reporter paid the Boydstons a visit and discovered that the brothers had been keeping two bodies in the building that had been deceased for some 4 to 5 months. The corpses were the subject of experiments to find a method of so-called petrifaction, a way to actually turn human bodies to stone. According to the reporter, the woman in the basement had been brought in for preparation in July, but then remained unclaimed by family or friends. The brothers took the opportunity to experiment on the corpse, injecting a peculiar fluid at intervals as the weeks passed. Though the death had occurred in the hot summer months, no decomposition or even darkening of the skin was observed. As the months passed, the brothers noticed a, quote, hardness of the body, and none of the usual falling of the features, which are as full and round as they were during life, end quote. The second body in question was that of a 16-year-old girl. The girl had perished in August, some 4 months before, but appearing as fresh and alive as on the day of her death. According to the brothers, relatives of the girl continued to visit the body and to bring flowers and trinkets to place in the casket. As it turned out, the Boydstons had been experimenting for quite some time. Earlier that same year, they had made the headlines when it was discovered that a woman who had died in 1896 and was allegedly buried at the Dunning cemeteries had actually been lying in the Boydstons' embalming chamber for 2 years. The burial record of one Julia A. Clerk was declared a fraud, and it was expected that the coroner's office would give order to disinter the body in the Dunning grave. The Boydstons explained that the woman had been sent to their parlor when she died after surgery for periodontitis. The Boydstons had prepared the body with a new embalming method they were working on and waited for someone to claim her, but no one did. They decided to keep the body rather than selling it to a medical school in order to observe the effects, which were apparently astounding. Amazingly, it was the pastor of a Southside spiritualist church, Georgia Gladys Cooley, who identified the body as Clerk's, claiming she had received the woman's name via spiritualistic communication when she and several other Southside pastors proposed to pay for a funeral for the unclaimed woman. Soon after, Cooley was arrested for shoplifting when she was charged with stealing a bolt of lace veiling, which she claimed she was going to use for the dead woman's funeral. At the opening of Cooley's shoplifting trial, just as attorney William P. Black arose to make his opening argument in defense of Cooley, nearly 100 square feet of plaster fell from the ceiling upon the court, including Cooley, whose forehead was badly scratched. Several women fainted and had to be carried out. Cooley was eventually acquitted after 10 weeks of hearings. Despite all of the unrest, the body from the Boydstons was eventually interred at Oakwoods Cemetery. It is unknown whether the mysterious grave at Dunning was ever opened. Nothing more is known about how the Boydstons' embalming experiments proceeded, though apparently they did not pan out. A few later appearances in the local papers don't speak about their methods, but in 1903, they prepared the bodies of 5 victims of the devastating Iroquois Theater fire. In 1904, a man walked into their chapel to make funeral arrangements for a friend who had committed suicide. Moments later, he shot himself in the funeral parlor bathroom. Then, in 1908, the health department asked the county to suspend the brothers' license for cremating a body without a permit at Graceland Cemetery. One wonders what plans the Boydston brothers had for their method of embalming if it had succeeded. Perhaps they imagined a futuristic cemetery with preserved corpses in glass cases. Perhaps an addition to the funeral home where bodies could be displayed in a sort of museum of the dead. Perhaps they hoped to offer families the option of installing their loved ones back in their family homes, delaying burial indefinitely. In any case, the Boydstons' strange moment in Chicago history still lives on, a testament to the excitement and innovation of the 19th century funeral industry.